In a new and striking development from the Korean peninsula, reports from Seoul indicate that North Korea has once again conducted a weapons test, this time involving a cruise missile launched over waters on the western side of the peninsula. According to information released by the state-run Korean Central News Agency, often referred to as KCNA, the launch took place on the 28th, drawing close attention from neighboring countries and the international community. Observers say the test marks another demonstration of Pyongyang's growing technological capability. The missile, said to have flown for more than 2 hours before reaching its target, followed a pre-set trajectory and reportedly struck with precision. This event comes at a time when tensions across the region remain high, as discussions surrounding security and diplomacy continue to dominate global headlines. Interestingly, the report emphasized that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un did not personally oversee this particular launch. Instead, senior military officials were present, including Park Young-chon, who serves as vice chairman of the Central Military Commission of the Workers' Party. He praised the successful launch, calling it a significant achievement in advancing the country's defense objectives. Park also stated that this test was part of a broader plan established by the ruling party to strengthen what North Korea refers to as its nuclear deterrent. This phrase, often used by Pyongyang, reflects its ongoing commitment to enhancing its missile capabilities despite repeated international sanctions and diplomatic pressure. Meanwhile, global attention is also focused on the movements of former U.S. President Donald Trump, who arrived in South Korea on the 29th as part of a visit to the region. During his stay, Trump is expected to participate in the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, summit. The gathering includes world leaders and major business figures discussing trade, security, and economic collaboration across the Pacific Rim. In addition to attending APEC, Trump is also scheduled to meet with China's President Xi Jinping on the 30th. Analysts view this upcoming meeting as a key opportunity for dialogue on a range of issues, including regional security, trade tensions, and of course, North Korea's missile and nuclear programs. As for the recent missile test, South Korean defense officials and international analysts are closely examining flight data, launch patterns, and satellite imagery to determine the exact nature of the weapon tested. Cruise missiles, unlike ballistic missiles, typically fly at lower altitudes and can maneuver during flight, making them harder to detect and intercept. Such capabilities raise new concerns about the evolving threat that North Korea's weapons pose to regional stability. Experts point out that this type of missile, if confirmed, could represent a new generation of North Korean armaments designed to bypass current defense systems. Some believe that the test may have been intended not only to showcase military strength but also to send a strategic message to Washington and its allies ahead of major diplomatic meetings. This test also comes amid ongoing discussions between Seoul and Washington over joint military exercises and defense cooperation. The U.S. and South Korea continue to emphasize the importance of deterrence and preparedness in the face of what they describe as North Korea's provocative actions. At the same time, diplomatic channels remain technically open. International observers note that North Korea's pattern of testing weapons ahead of major global summits or foreign visits is not new. It has often been used as a means of asserting presence or reminding the world of its capabilities. The timing, therefore, is significant. With President Trump's arrival and the APEC forum set to begin, Pyongyang's latest missile test may have been carefully calibrated to coincide with heightened media coverage, ensuring maximum international attention. The official statement from KCNA portrayed the launch as a routine step in what it called the nation's ongoing plan to modernize its defense. The agency's tone remained defiant, insisting that such activities are a matter of national sovereignty and self-defense. However, regional analysts are interpreting the move differently. Many believe it's a message directed toward both Washington and Beijing, signaling North Korea's determination to continue its military programs regardless of outside pressure or upcoming diplomatic exchanges. Meanwhile, the South Korean government has urged restraint and emphasized the need for renewed dialogue. Officials in Seoul reaffirmed their commitment to peace and denuclearization, but they also stated that continued provocations would only deepen isolation for the North. In Tokyo, Japanese defense officials are monitoring developments closely. Japan's defense systems were not activated during this launch, as the missile's flight path remained within North Korean territorial waters. Nonetheless, Prime Minister's office released a statement condemning the test as destabilizing and urging Pyongyang to comply with United Nations resolutions. The United Nations itself has not yet issued an official response, but diplomats from several member states have expressed concern privately, emphasizing that repeated missile tests undermine the prospects for peace on the peninsula. Over the past several months, North Korea has reportedly conducted multiple tests of new weapon systems, each one seemingly more sophisticated than the last. These include short-range ballistic missiles, underwater-launched drones, and now, advanced cruise missiles capable of precise long-range flight. For many experts, this pattern reflects a deliberate strategy to showcase self-reliance in defense technology and remind the world that sanctions have not prevented scientific or military progress within the country. In Washington, policymakers are likely to discuss these developments alongside trade and security issues during Trump's Asia visit. The U.S. remains firm in its stance that North Korea must return to negotiations over its nuclear and missile programs, but tangible progress has been limited. As the world watches, questions remain about whether future dialogue can bridge the deep mistrust between Pyongyang and the international community. While the North claims its missile tests are purely defensive, neighboring nations view them as clear provocations and potential violations of international law. Still, there are voices calling for caution, reminding everyone that military escalation benefits no one. Diplomatic experts argue that sustained communication and regional cooperation offer the only viable path toward reducing tensions. As for the people of the Korean Peninsula, many continue to live under the shadow of uncertainty, a fragile balance between hope for peace and fear of renewed conflict. The recent missile launch serves as yet another reminder of how quickly regional security dynamics can shift. Meanwhile, as Trump's visit continues, eyes remain fixed on his meetings with leaders across Asia. Whether these high-level talks will lead to new strategies or fresh diplomatic approaches remains to be seen. Some analysts predict that behind-the-scenes discussions may already be underway to manage the response to Pyongyang's latest actions. Others believe that North Korea's leadership may use these events to justify further tests, framing them as necessary steps toward national defense. Whatever the case, the coming days are likely to bring further statements, analyses, and political maneuvering. From Seoul to Washington, from Beijing to Tokyo, the world is once again reminded that the Korean Peninsula remains one of the most sensitive and unpredictable flashpoints in international politics. In conclusion, North Korea's recent cruise missile test, carried out in defiance of international concern and coinciding with major diplomatic movements, underscores both the country's ambitions and the complexity of maintaining peace in Northeast Asia. The event highlights ongoing questions about deterrence, diplomacy, and the delicate balance between strength and stability. And as global leaders gather in South Korea and beyond, the world watches closely, waiting to see whether these parallel stories of missile launches and diplomatic visits will collide in confrontation or open new doors for dialogue in one of the most watched regions on Earth.